If you want a movie that, on paper, looks scientifically designed to earn awards, look no further than The Danish Girl, with director Tom Hooper, who directed the Academy Award winning The King's Speech and Les Miserables, as well as Eddie Redmayne, after winning an Oscar last year with The Theory of Everything, in another transformation role based on the true story of Lili Elbe, the first transgendered woman to undergo gender reassignment surgery. Especially when transgenderism is a hot-button issue right now, how could this movie not win big come awards season? However, it would seem that in recent weeks the movie has lost some awards momentum, as all of the competition has started showing up. In fact, The Danish Girl has been lambasted by the transgender community for its portrayal of one of its most iconic and famous figures, and while Tom Hooper has received a lot of awards recognition, it's safe to say that the weakest part of his films are the direction. Can The Danish Girl leave an impact in what looks set to be a stacked awards season, or is the true Lili Elbe movie still yet to be made? It's 1920s Denmark. Married couple Einar and Gerda are making their way as famous artists. However, when Gerda's female model doesn't show up to finalise a portrait, she convinces her husband to put on her dress and stockings to model for her. When Einar puts the clothes on, something changes inside of him, and he starts to embrace his female side, which the two dub Lili. But as Einar starts to embrace his femininity more and more and his marriage to Gerda becomes strained, Einar wants to undergo a full but risky transformation to become the woman she always feels like she's been. Transgender terminology is a soft spot for many people online, so I'm just putting this out there right now. I will be referring to Einar as he/him, male pronouns, and I will be referring to Lili as she/her, female pronouns. The reason I'm not going to refer to them as she/her, female pronouns the entire time is because The Danish Girl is really not dealing with a transgender story, but rather a split personality story. I must stress, the movie is doing this, not necessarily the mostly fictional book written by David Ebershoff with the same name, which this movie takes inspiration from, or the true story as well as Lili's biography, Man into Woman. Now let's begin proper with that out of the way. With the rise to prominence of Caitlyn Jenner or Laverne Cox in 2015, as well as the increased cultural acceptance towards the transgender community with progress yet still to be made, it seems like The Danish Girl is coming out at a very appropriate time. While Einar/Lili is not the first female to be born in a man's body, he/she is the very first to undergo the surgery to try and physically make the transformation. And the movie starts off in a very compelling way, as we get to see 1920s Denmark and Einar and Gerda's relationship before the change, as well as their careers as painters. But the issues start the moment Einar puts on the dress to model for Gerda's portrait, and it goes downhill fast, as the sequence in question plays almost like what you'd see in a 1990s parody of this true story. Einar caresses the dress, fondles it in his hands, and the whole thing comes across as immensely saccharine. Yes, it's true that Einar putting on the dress was the moment Lili was quote-unquote born, although not really, but more on that later, but that should come across through Eddie Redmayne's performance, not Tom Hooper's leering, intrusive camera angles, slow-motion shots, and Alexander Desplat's bombastic score. It also means that the next 2 or 3 scenes of Einar trying to put on women's clothes or trying to embrace his femininity have nowhere to go. There's no sense of escalation, narratively speaking, with Einar embracing the side of himself as the next few scenes play out exactly the same way. Really, the bombastic music and close-up camera angles should have started in a scene later on when Einar sneaks into a theatre to look in front of a full-length mirror, but when you open with that first transformation, you have a first act of a movie without any progression. But the issue deep down with The Danish Girl is that Einar and Lili are two completely different people. They both happen to be different genders, but the movie goes out of its way to show that Einar and Lili don't share similar interests, life goals, or character traits, hence why this movie isn't so much a transgender movie, but rather a split personality movie. Einar is a landscape painter, is soft-spoken and doesn't like public events, but he enjoys the company of friends. That's a character. Lili, well, Lili is just a woman. I say just, but that lies the issue with The Danish Girl. Lili isn't a character. She's a plot device in her own movie. Lili's sole defining character trait is that she's a woman. All she wants to be is a woman. She has no goals or aspirations outside of being female. In the first act of the movie, we get to know Einar as a person, but once Lili shows up, we don't get anything from her other than the fact that she likes women's clothes and women's makeup. Gerda even asks her if she'll be a painter like Einar was, to which Lili responds, "I don't want to be a painter. I want to be a woman." Because that's not demeaning, right? We also learn that Lili actually existed before Einar put the dress on, as Einar once dressed up as a girl when he was 6 and kissed his male best friend before his father chased his friend out of the house. Not only do we not actually see that happen on screen, which would have made for a much better pre-title sequence than we actually get in the movie, but it would have worked better structurally to open the movie with that, because Lili comes right the hell out of nowhere. When watching the first 20 minutes of The Danish Girl, Lili is nowhere to be seen. Einar may not be the embodiment of masculinity, but he's not exactly feminine either, and there's no sign of a female until Einar starts fondling the dress that Gerda makes him wear. This means that when Einar says near the end of the movie, Lili's been there all along, it doesn't ring true. Whether or not the events of the movie are true to the real story of Einar and Lili, it comes across as Einar simply enjoying feminine things as opposed to actually him being a woman. Obviously in the 1920s what defined a man and a woman were different, but everything that Einar changes about himself when he becomes Lili is entirely superficial. Einar even goes to watch a stripper performance to mimic her actions so he can apply them when he becomes Lili again. Actions that are specifically designed to act as faux titillation for men. She wears lipstick, wears dresses, puts on makeup, and that's it. Just who is Lili? What does she care about? What are her hopes, her fears, her desires? Einar even says when he dreams, they're Lili's dreams, but what does Lili dream about? This means that we're watching a plot device struggle as she transitions into something far less interesting than she was before. Einar was a rather simple but still endearing character. Lili is not. If there's one thing that The Danish Girl does portray very well, it's the aspect that is often not talked about in conversation concerning transgenderism, and that's about the husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends left behind. The best part about The Danish Girl is the character of Gerda and her struggle as her husband transforms into someone who she accepts but is not the person she fell in love with. There's a great sense of guilt to her character as well, since she played a part in Lili's not birth, since she was apparently there all along but not really. Alicia Vikander has been a rising star this past year in the testament of youth, ex machina, the man from U.N.C.L.E., son of a gun, and seventh son. Okay, maybe not those last two, but her portrayal of Gerda is easily the best aspect of the film. That's not to say that Eddie Redmayne is bad as Einar/Lili, far from it. Redmayne is clearly acting his heart out, but it's hard to escape the fact that he may have been miscast for this role, or at least misdirected. Redmayne's soft-spoken voice as Lili makes him come across as rather creepy at points in ways I'm sure the filmmakers did not intend, and his portrayal of Lili is just female stereotyping. To be fair, the script doesn't give Lili any characteristics beyond that, so he has nothing to work with in terms of his performance. Redmayne gets more mileage out of Einar as he portrays a man who feels like he's slowly losing himself to this alter ego that he feels more comfortable with. He has a life, a profession, and relationships that are falling away at the seams because he's given in to his emotional instincts, and it's heart-wrenching to see that portrayed. Though it does have to be said, Eddie Redmayne makes for a pretty darn good-looking woman. His struggle as he tries to find out which side of his personality to embrace also paves the way for a couple of harrowing moments as he visits doctors to try and find out what's quote-unquote wrong with him, with one doctor saying he needs to be quote-unquote cured through radiation, or they can drill holes in his head, or that he's schizophrenic and needs to be locked up. This is made worse by the fact that this isn't just the movie saying, look how bad it was for transgenders 90 years ago, it's essentially saying, yeah, this was being said about transgenders 90 years ago, and we're still doing it. For the supporting cast we have Matthias Schoenaerts playing the exact same role he played in Sweet Francais and Far From the Madding Crowd, Ben Whishaw as a potential new love interest for Lili, and Sebastian Koch as the surgeon who wants to help Einar/Lili get a sex change operation. These characters serve their function to the plot, but not much beyond that. They don't have anything to work with outside of their plot-specific roles. I said before that Tom Hooper's direction is the weakest part of his films, and sadly that holds true for The Danish Girl. That's not to say that Tom Hooper is a bad director, but he often seems to be trying really hard to make a unique looking movie instead of just letting the story play out. There are really oddly structured shots where characters only take up a quarter of the frame, there's a lot of reliance on reflections, and around 2 minutes of landscape shots before the opening credits even start. Hooper clearly directs actors very well apart from Redmayne as Lili, and he has a superb eye for architecture and period detail, but outside of that, The Danish Girl is a flatly directed film that feels like it's letting the subject matter carry it. This is exacerbated by an ending that was so unintentionally funny due to Tom Hooper's inability to calculate a scene's tone that it caused The Danish Girl to end on such a sour note. Alexander Desplat's score is beautiful, as is to be expected, but it's far too bombastic during key moments. Whether or not that's Desplat's choice or a sound editor misplacing his tracks, I couldn't tell you. Either way, subtlety is not this movie's strong suit, with the leering, intrusive camera, slow motion shots, etc. The makeup, the costumes, the wigs, the sets are great as to be expected, as Tom Hooper reteams with production designer Eve Stewart, who worked on The King's Speech and Les Miserables, and her work is superb as always. So, after all of that, here's my conclusion. The Danish Girl takes a true story that works in this current social climate and seems to let that be the be-all and the end-all. We get very little insight into Lili as a person, and she's introduced so abruptly and is so poorly defined as a character that she feels like a MacGuffin in her own movie. The subplot with Gerda slowly coming to terms with her husband's new identity and the bittersweet guilt associated with that is endearing, and Alicia Vikander is a proven star in the making, but with flat direction and very little exploration outside of the superficial aspects of the movie's subject matter, The Danish Girl rings emotionally hollow, no matter how many tears the main characters shed for awards contention. I give The Danish Girl 2.5 stars out of 5. Hey folks, thanks for listening to my review. You can find these reviews a day early on my website, so be sure to visit www.trilbee.com regularly, where you can find a written version. I'm just experimenting with a new format, so let me know if you like these audio reviews to complement the written ones. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. But more importantly, what do you think of the film? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe for more movie-related analysis. Please hit that like button, as it really helps me out, and you can support my content through Patreon for exclusive perks and rewards and updates. I'll see you folks next time.